Oh, hi there, friend. Welcome to this week's episode of We Read It One Night, the podcast where two sisters giggle over the romance novels that bring us joy. Today, we have the finale of our discussion on Eclipse by Stephenie Meyer. Get ready for some deep dives into Twilight Saga lore, more Jacob hate, and a whole lot of giggling. Don't forget to drop us a rating and review, and enjoy the show. As I was scrolling through my notes to find out like where we left off, I was literally I had like the grandpa from Princess Bride in my head that was like, all right, where were we? Yes, in the pit of despair.
Love it.
And you know what? It is kind of the pit of despair because in today's episode on Eclipse Part 3 by Stephenie Meyer, Bella is horny and ready to demand sex, and Edward is once again cock-blocking her, which I would argue is pretty despairing, both for Bella and for Twilight readers the world over who are like, Stephenie.
So where were we?
They just finished vampire werewolf training.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I noted that Jacob, when he hums, it is wilder than a cat's purr. So we ended on a little cat reference.
Okay, the next thing I have after that is just to note that poor little Colin and Brady, the newest werewolves, are therefore literally child soldiers. Like
they're all child soldiers except for like Sam, who's the only adult.
I know.
And Paul, I guess, is like
Jared.
19.
Yeah.
Jared's in high school. No, Jared's in high school.
Oh, really?
Because Kim's in high school. Because he became a werewolf, and it's not been like he became a werewolf and turned around and saw Kim. So he's in high school.
Jeez. Okay, so since for some reason they started at 3 a.m., Bella's really tired. But again, like somehow the werewolves can function on like zero sleep. It's unclear how. But so Bella sleeps for like a while, and then Edward wakes her up.
Bella and Edward are having like a 2-day sleepover. The first night is because the rest of the Cullens are going hunting, and Bella's been like, Edward, can you not fight, please? And Edward's like, oh, fine. So they're having a sleepover that night, and then the second night they'll be like camping in the woods so they can be like near the fight or something.
This is the point at which Stephenie Meyer decides to make sex the human experience that Bella wants. Like for some reason, like I just think it's so funny that this is like what she went all in on, because it's so like it just perfectly encapsulates the like inherent contradictoriness of like
purity culture.
It's like you can't have sex. Sex is evil. But yet Stephenie just couldn't resist because she like had to have Bella get pregnant. Like that's like what it all comes down to, I feel like. And therefore was forced to go through the indignity of this like sex situation.
Yeah. So basically Bella is like, for some reason, vampire werewolf training triggers this thought, I guess because like the newborns are like in bloodlust or whatever. So she's like, well, when I'm a newborn vampire, like I'm only gonna want blood, and like even after that, like you always want blood the most. So like I want to experience sex before that bloodlust takes over. And so she's like, Edward, we're gonna fuck before you turn me into a vampire.
Yeah, exactly. But she's like wanting to ask him about it, and she's like, I was too embarrassed to ask. Like, I wrapped my arms around him. It was probably similar to snuggling with Michelangelo's David, which just brings us back to like you have to keep in mind this entire time, like Edward is literally a block of rock, like he's a stone, but not in like a hot way, like in a like this is literally marble, granite, what have you, Michelangelo's David, as it were. And then Edward's like,
who has a tiny dick. I would like to know.
Well, no, wasn't it? It was broken off.
No, not Michelangelo's David. That's all the naked men in the Vatican that one pope went and cut off all their dicks. But Michelangelo's David still has his dick.
Oh, are we sure?
Yeah, it's just really tiny, proportionally. It's also flaccid, to be fair to David. We don't know what it would be like when it's erect.
That's true. It's hard to tell.
Hard to tell.
What is it, like growers versus showers?
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe David's got a lot of girth, like I feel, because that makes a difference too.
Who's to say? Actually, none of it makes a difference, Allison. It all comes down to realizing that men and women start out the same. Like you have all the same parts. It's just whether you have an innie or an outie, right? So like the tip of your dick is what is like sensitive, right? Like that's where the action is. That is your clitoris, except it's like in right? And if you look at the
Well, no, because the clitoris is way bigger.
Right, I'm saying the outside, like the sensitive part. So your clitoris is way bigger. Yeah, if you look up, you'll probably have your mind blown by how big the clitoris is. It's mostly inside. But the sensitive part on the outside is like where all the action is. You'll note that that is not in the baby hole, right? There's the baby hole where like for some reason we've all been brainwashed into thinking like that's the sex like move. But it's not. Like that's not right. So like if the vast majority of women, like there's nothing like you aren't going to get anything from that, especially the way that most people like the in out. So, and it makes no sense. Like, I feel like so many women are like brainwashed into thinking that like something's wrong with you or like it's somehow like better if you can like come from only, you know, any like P and V basically like inside. That's not true for the vast majority of people. And there's nothing wrong with you. In fact, you are the typical like person if you can't like, if that doesn't do anything for you. It either hurts if you're not like fully aroused or just literally like you might as well be like being poked in the ear. Like it's the same thing. Right. And that's normal. I hear so many times, like I see so many people that are like, oh, my wife like was like, so like, she just like stopped wanting to have sex. And it's like, yeah, because it's easier to just like do it yourself. Like, why would you put up with like, I don't know, with like being poked when you don't have time for that. Anyway, back to the main thing. There's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with the porn industry.
Edward won't let Bella touch his dick at all, and he won't touch Bella's clitoris. So no orgasms are being had in Forks, Washington, at least by these two dweebs. I'm assuming the Cullens are fucking all the time.
We don't know though. Like, do they dry hump? Because that honestly could get them closer than most people's P&B nowadays.
They don't even French kiss.
What about the thigh hitch?
You think anytime Bella tries to do anything besides just like press her lips to Edward, he's like, ah! Like runs to the other side of the room.
What about the hitch?
But then she starts trying to like, you know, do more, and he immediately is like, Bella, stop trying to take your clothes off.
So Edward's like, Bella's like, there's just one thing that I want, like that, and she's too embarrassed to say it. And Edward's like, what is it, Bella? Like, tell me. And then Bella's like, I could almost hear the click in his head as he connected my words and actions. Like, she's like, I just want to like be with you. And then he's like, oh, get back from me, harlot.
He literally, she like rips her shirt open because she's trying to undo his shirt, and he's like, Bella, no. And then she's like just rips her shirt.
She does that when he like she finally like wears him down and agrees to do it like once they're married. And she's like, all right, let's go now. And he's like, no, like we have to wait.
No, he finally gets her to agree to do it before vampire time. Right, then he's like, we have to be married first. So yeah, Bella rips her shirt open, and this is when Edward is like, Bella, would you please stop trying to take your clothes off?
Yeah. Can I just say, so she starts crying when he says no. And there's this line, she's like, they're like holding hands, she's sitting down, and she's like, I look down at my hands / our laps. And Edward's like, and then like right after that, Edward is like, you think I don't want you? Like she's like crying because she thinks he like doesn't want her in that way. And I was like, this is the perfect missed opportunity for at least like an over the pants boner. Like that's the classic line. It's like, you think I don't want you? Like, look at this. Look what you're doing to me. Right. Mm-hmm. Like
way too sexual.
We can't even get that.
Way too sexual for Stephenie. So my question for you is, do we think that Edward would even like consider giving up about sex, like giving in? Like even with like the condition that he eventually gives in on is like they're gonna get married first, but like he will fuck her while she's a human. Do we think he would even consider giving in if Jacob wasn't in the picture? Because yes. During this reread, I was like, I think that it is Edward's insecurities about Jacob that pushes him over the edge. Maybe. Like I think he would have been a lot more like, oh no, I could hurt you, Bella, whatever. Like I just think he would have been a lot more Edward about it if Jacob wasn't in the picture.
Do we think that Edward has ever even like jerked off in his entire existence?
Well,
is that even possible?
Human Edward's jerked off for sure.
Right.
It has to be possible for vampires to jerk off because
no. I'm not saying vampires to jerk off. I'm saying that a human boy would get to the age of 17 without at least having like a wet dream. Like
yeah, no, Edward's, and especially because Edward was like a human boy. He was like, you know, he was trying to join the army, like, you know, he was like a stereotypical man.
No, I'm not even saying like, even like if you were like totally brainwashed and you were like, this is like the evil sin, like again, wet dreams are a thing for, you know, right?
Sure.
So, like, I guess
and
that's not intentional,
just
but you
aren't gonna do it.
Yeah, you would know like what it feels like.
Well, no, it's bran flakes. Bran flakes were invented by some guy who was trying to like stop boys from masturbating. Like somehow
he thought
eating
like
bran
boring
would like make
food.
you not
Eating boring food would like
horny.
keep you. Well, that's a general, like if you think about it, that's like a general theme with humans. I feel like monks used to think that like boring food was healthier, and like they didn't know like oatmeal and stuff, and like plain oatmeal, nothing in it. They didn't know anything about nutrition. They were like accidentally right when it came to oatmeal, but like the whole idea, it's like I feel like that's people always like they're like if it tastes bad, it must be good for you, you know.
It's
like
so
basically
weird. Because that's like against biology. Like biologically, you'd like if it tastes bad, it could be poisonous, so I'm not going to eat it.
Well, if it tastes not bad, but like bland, basically.
Sure,
bland. And I guess it's like, yeah, it's so weird. It's like I don't know where it comes from. I guess it's just like it comes from like the idea of like glutton. I don't know if that's true outside like Western or like Christianity, right? Because it's like gluttony is like a sin. So like if you enjoy it, you're like being sinful and maybe unhealthy. I don't know. It'd be interesting. I'd be interesting to look into that and like see if that's a thing like widely across humanity or just like if we're just thinking of like Europe, basically.
The whole bland foods, though, I just had this thought now. The whole like bland foods prevent boys from masturbating. Also, sports. The reason we have like sports in schools and like the reason sports were so promoted in like England and the US was literally to try to get boys to stop masturbating. But I feel like the opposite would be more logically true. Like if someone's eating bland food all the time, I feel like that would only make them more likely to try to get their kicks somewhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they have all this spent up energy. Whereas like if you're eating exciting food, you're like, I don't know. Like it's stupid either way. But I just feel like eating exciting food is more likely to like, because then you get the like serotonin and the dopamine elsewhere, like you get elsewhere.
It's just like you just makes you want more. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. You could make an argument either way, I feel like. But what I was saying about Edward, like would it have been possible for him to not as a human? Because like it's not in this book, but like later on he's going to be like, oh, I talked to Jasper and Emmett to like get an idea of what it would be like when we like finally fuck Bella. And he's like, they say it's like the best thing ever, like second only to drinking human blood or whatever. But I guess he could have just been asking. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Basically like sex period. But I guess he could just be asking like, what is it like as a vampire? You know, because I'm sure it's different.
Yeah. A vampire. And then also like a vampire with like your mate.
I guess. Do we think that like the rest of them
canonically fuck all the time? Like Emmett and Rosalie knocked down a house.
Oh, no. I'm saying they haven't ever with someone who's not their mate. Like Emmett doesn't have anything for comparison. Jasper probably does. Jasper must. But.
Yeah. Emmett doesn't have anything for comparison, but Jasper's definitely fucked other people. 100%.
Yeah. Well, Maria, I feel like. Although who knows with Stephenie? Like who knows if she actually like I
don't really care like what Stephenie thinks. Jasper was not a vampire for like 60 years before meeting Alice without fucking other people. Like no way, Jose. And frankly, I think Alice fucked other people too, because Alice was turned into a vampire around the same time Edward was, but her and Jasper didn't meet until like the 1950s.
Yeah, but the thing is like Alice is a baby. Like their relationship is like very I don't know.
What?
How old is Alice? Alice is like 13, isn't she? Is she older?
No,
I thought she was really young.
She's like 18. She's just small.
Oh, okay.
No, she's like an adult.
I don't know why it's 13. I'm thinking Jane, I feel like. Never mind. Yeah, I take it back. Well, I'm just thinking their relationship is always so described as so chaste, but I guess that could just be like in public.
I think it's just in public. I think they're
like
freaking
they
the
stare at each other like a mother looking into their baby's eyes.
No. I think Alice and Jasper are definitely a freak in the sheets, and I definitely think Alice fucked before, because I think Alice was like, oh, I'm gonna meet my mate in like 40 years. I don't want to like be bad at sex, so like I'm just gonna like practice. Well, like obviously,
would it be possible for Alice to be? Well, I guess you have to practice. Like, but you can't just like. But she would be able to like see the future of like what did.
Yeah, but then if she doesn't eventually do it, I don't know. It's like different.
There's so you can't. I get it. You can't really think too hard about Alice's power, because it's like any time travel, any see the future. It crumbles under even the slightest like scrutiny. So you just have to kind of like take it as it comes. So Edward is like, Bella, like stop taking your shirt off, like back to that. And then she won't stop. She like starts trying to take his clothes off. And then it's like cold iron fetters suddenly wrapped around my wrists and pulled my hands above my head, which was suddenly on a pillow. I was like, this is so fucking kinky. Like they even have fucking handcuffs. His hands are cold iron fetters. What? Hands above your wrist, like wrists above your head. Like
Stephenie, you were like so close.
So
like
kinky.
I think it was all like all the like romance reading she did, just sort of like seeping into her unconscious, and she was like putting all those like tropes in, but like her Mormon soul couldn't allow her to like go far enough.
Do you think this is the line that inspired 50 Shades of Grey?
So Edward, at this point, he's like, okay, like I'll have sex with you, but like, well, we got to get married first because your virtue or whatever. And then he's kissing her, trying to convince her to like say yes to marriage. And Bella like sarcastically like thinks of it as like this was like duress, coercion. And I'm like, yeah, but it kind of is. And he does this to you a lot where like he kisses you to like befuddle your mind so that you'll like agree to stuff. I was like, Bella, think about that again. Let's roll that back over in our head.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. That's kind of just like, it's kind of like bribery, if anything, I feel like. I don't know.
Yeah. But also Edward's whole reasoning for the like, we can't have sex before marriage or whatever is like for all the, you know, the reasons you can think of for not having sex before marriage. But he's specifically like, he's trying to protect Bella's virtue because he's like, I don't want to like stain your soul any more than I will like as you as a vampire. Like he doesn't care about his virtue. He only cares about like,
he
Bella's
is like
virtue.
let me have this one rule that I didn't
I know,
break.
but he says that later. I think that's just something he tacks on later. I don't know. Like he seems to care way more about Bella. Like I don't think he legitimately believes let me have this later because I think he fully believes he's damned. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like I think that's just like an argument.
It's like insurance. Yeah.
But he's like the way he describes this, like first of all, it's like so misogynist. But second of all, he describes it, he says like, come on, like there are certain things that like all major like cultures and religions like agree on. And, like this is one of them. And I'm like, no, it is not, Stephenie. I wouldn't even say the majority of religions agree on that. Like, whoa, no.
Well, nowadays.
I mean, is it like Christianity? I think Islam also has that.
Islam 100%.
Yeah. Islam, I mean, I
don't know about Judaism.
I don't know about Judaism because Judaism, like modern Judaism also like supports abortion. So like I feel like the Jews like are cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It probably depends on like the, you know, there's different
I don't know about Hinduism, Buddha, like
also
there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of religions. There's no way.
I know, but when he said major, like, yeah.
No, he didn't. Like he said all.
But, like all of those things are less like they all I feel like predate the religions. Like they're all just like cultural, like they're for like it's just that it's the patriarchy is what it all is when it comes down to it. I just think when people say like major world religions, which is not that's definitely not representative.
He didn't say major world religions. He said all religions.
Yeah, okay, then I agree.
He specifically was like, everyone agrees on this. And I was like, no, they do not.
Ridiculous. Well, and I told you, like, I read somewhere, I don't want to, again, slandering the Mormons, maybe deservedly, maybe not. But, like, I read somewhere that, like, premarital sex is, like, as bad as, if not worse than murder. Like,
yeah, apparently. I think you brought that up last time, yeah. Which brings me to did we ever talk about, maybe we talked about this during the other Twilight things, but the, like, thing where, like, the bed shaking thing for sex where like the guy will like put his dick
or whatever.
Yeah, he'll put his dick.
I don't know if that's like, real, but yeah.
No, I don't know because I like saw replies to that. They were like, yeah, no, I went to BYU.
And the irony is that would probably if you actually did that, you just like put it in and then had someone jump on the bed. That would probably be a better effect, like for the woman at least, than how most people fuck.
I mean, probably.
Like,
yeah.
So everyone wants to get married, like, for stupid reasons, basically. And Bella's like, this is my worst fear. Like, I can't, like, my mom has warned me my whole life. Like, it's the most embarrassing thing I can think of. Like, people are going to gossip. And, like, maybe it wouldn't bother me so much if I didn't know that I would be gossiping just as condescendingly as the rest of them if it were someone else getting married. I'm like, so Bella is like other girls. Like, she's just, like, in the worst possible way. Like, come on.
I really appreciated this moment of self-awareness.
Yeah, it's so rare.
Like, and I also really related to it, just like me personally, because like my friends who are like, it's mostly friends from high school. And then there are like a few people that like have joined afterward and like, you know,
whatever, part of the group. And we'll send screenshots of the people from my high school who are like,
Oh, for sure.
got engaged and like who have now gotten married. And it's always just like screenshot and then a variation of the caption of like, we lost another one or there they go again. And like the reactions are always like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah. What I will say though in Edward's defense here is that Bella's thing about not wanting to get married at 18 is that when she becomes a vampire, like she's always going to be 18. So no matter when she gets married, like to the eyes of the world, she's going to be 18. So like, is it really, it's not going to get any less embarrassing, Bella. Like it's either like you either wait until you're a normal age to turn into a vampire or you are perpetually going to be the married 18-year-old or very young looking married like 23-year-old or something. But
yeah,
yeah. Bella's like, everyone's gonna think I'm pregnant, and I'm like, girl, like that's the least of your people thinking you're pregnant is about to be the least of your concerns.
But it's funny. It's like a line in the Breaking Dawn movie where like Anna Kendrick as Jessica Stanley is like, so like when do we think Bella is gonna start showing? Like obviously that's the only reason they're getting married. And I just love movie Jessica. She's incredible.
And honestly, like Edward is so reasonable. Like he's like, we don't have to tell anyone or make any changes. Like literally no changes. We could just go to Vegas and go to the drive-through window of the chapel. I just wanted to be official. And I was like, why don't they fucking do? And I don't know, like why would Bella even object to that? Like no one even has to know. Like they don't.
No,
and
that
of course
is
they
what.
don't. I know. But why doesn't Bella at that point? Like why does Bella even care? Like I don't know. I feel like if
she gives in
it's
pretty
like
quickly after that. She gives in pretty quickly after he suggests.
Of course, they don't fucking do that because Alice sucks ass. But
yes, because having Alice's sister-in-law just sounds absolutely miserable.
And then Edward pulls out the ring that he's definitely been carrying since like day 2 of meeting Bella, like for sure,
like between his ass cracks or something too. Like you know what I mean? Like not even in a normal place.
No, he just like swallowed it and like spit it up just now, really too fast for the eye to see. Too fast. He spits up faster than the speed of light.
And then he Bella. Like wipes off the vampire venom that's like been corroding the outside. He's like, fuck. Bella's like, first, like, she doesn't want to see. He's like, do you want to see the ring? And she's like, no. And I think it's interesting that Jacob uses basically this. I mean, Edward uses the same manipulation technique to get Bella to like ask him to see the gift as Jacob did previously, because Bella's like, no, I don't want to see it, like whatever. And then like both Edward and Jacob are like, oh, okay, like they do like the sad boy like emotional manipulation, and then Bella's like, fine, no, please show me. And Bella in this case is like, show me the damn ring, Edward. Like I was like, interesting parallel there.
Yeah. Oh, they're both missing bad. Edward's like, Bella, I'm not going to solder it to your finger. I enjoyed the use of the word solder. And it's a perfect fit, of course. So Bella has the same fingers as Edward's mom. No,
he definitely just got it sized for her.
You think?
Yes, I think he knows her exact ring size. All those times when he was watching her sleep, true. You don't think he was like productive any of those times?
Apparently, we definitely have gotten lines before that like the vampires can like automatically measure distances and stuff, and like just like looking at it, so he can just look at it and know the circumference. Yeah, right. He has like a built-in like
like app, totally. Yeah. And he's like, this is another hand-me-down. This is like my mom's engagement ring. And I was like, I sincerely doubt that this ugly ass ring is from the Edwardian era. Like the way that it's described, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like from the late 1800s. That's when this ring would be from, if it was his mom.
I'm going to be honest, they're pretty ugly in my opinion. They don't sound like how it's described, but they're
No,
pretty
that's
ugly.
What I'm saying. The way it's described.
I don't know. I don't like
but it. But it's like the early Edwardian era. Like it's late 1900s. Because Edward's 17, he's born in 1900, which means his parents have to get married sometime in the 1800s.
I mean, okay, look at this one I'm about to send you, because this is very much... How is it described in the book? And the book is very different than how it is in the movie.
No, actually, I disagree. I remember when I saw the ring in the movie, I thought it was like incredibly accurate.
Well, I just found an Edwardian ring that looks very similar to the book in the movie. So it's only $10,000.
Is it vintage though? Or is this modern made?
I have no idea. I would not pay $10,000 for this though. It's antique, yeah. Edwardian to Victorian diamond ring.
But like when? But like exactly like when?
The ring dates circa 1900 to 1910. Oh. So pretty much.
All right. Sorry, Stephenie. We'll link to that. I'll link to this goddamn vintage ring. Fine.
It looks so similar, just a little bit skinnier, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay, so the one in the movie is just like a big oval with like a bunch of like crystals in it. The one in the movie is definitely not an Edwardian ring, but it does like fit the basic description of the one in the book, which is like a large oval with like a bunch of diamonds in it.
There's
little
just
diamonds.
so much. I don't know. I don't want to shit talk. I'm just always amazed by how many ugly things there are when you could just be making only pretty things. You know? Like like you have thousands you have $10,000 to spend. Like there's so many like,
maybe people like it though.
No,
Rachel, some people think things are pretty that you don't think are pretty. It's okay.
It just could be all pretty things.
Yeah, but the pretty is not an objective thing.
This is like the frustration I have when I'm like scouring the internet for like an exact thing I want, and I'm like, I want to give someone my money. Why don't they have what is in my head? Like, why you could be making beautiful things and you're not. You've had hours and hours to prepare. Why is no one ready?
Anyway, if any of our listeners would like to volunteer to be like, I don't know, Rachel's personal thing maker, just like custom make all things. We're taking applications. Send us an email. We read it one night at gmail.com. Okay, so we get the proposal, and I would like to read this from you from scratch, like from my memory. I'm not looking at my notes. Isabella Swan, I promise to love you forever, every single day of forever. Will you marry me? And I am 90%. Okay, so I would like to say the audiobook says Isabella Swan, but I am 90% sure that the original text had Isabella Marie Swan, because that was how I had it memorized in my head. And I have it memorized because I read that scene so many times.
Why does he say forever twice? To love you forever, every single day of forever.
Will you marry me? And then he slides the ring onto my finger where it would sit for the rest of eternity. Although that's at the end of this book, not in this scene. And then her thing is like, I could say some things that were very mean and some things that were way too gooey. So I just settled for yes.
Insane. It reminds me of, we didn't mention this earlier, but like in the beginning of the book, like Bella's like, my boyfriend was coming over. Boyfriend didn't seem like the right word, but words like destiny and fate, like, didn't seem, you can't use them in casual conversation. It just makes me picture like her being like, hi everyone, this is my destiny, Edward.
Hi, Edward. Oh, they're so weird. Anyway, yeah, so now they're getting married. Flash forward to Alice emotionally blackmailing Bella into having a big wedding because Alice saw the future of them sneaking off to Vegas. So they were going to sneak off to Vegas, and Alice is like, oh, Bella, please let me plan your wedding. And I'm just thinking about the fact that it's canonical that like Rosalie and Emmett and Alice and Jasper, and I think even Carlisle and Esme, like get remarried like every decade or so.
Yeah.
So like Alice has literally the rest of eternity to throw Bella a big wedding. Why does it have to be now?
She sucks. Like she's literally like, how could you do this to me? I love you like you're my own sister. And I'm like, no, you fucking don't. And also if you maybe if you did, you wouldn't do this to her.
No. I just realized she is telling the truth because the only sister she has is Rosalie, and she doesn't love that bitch 1 ounce.
Oh my God. Well, she did have a sister when she was like, well, she doesn't remember that though.
She doesn't remember that sister at all. She found out about her only after like James spilled the beans.
Yeah.
And she did her own research.
I just can't. Like the number of people like guilting Bella into stupid shit. Like for
whatever. So now they're gonna have a big wedding.
And Alice is like, I want you to be, Bella's like, or I don't know, like they're like, Bella should just do whatever makes her happy. And Alice is like, I want you to be happy too. It's just that I know better what will make you happy. And like, so we can add Alice to the list of people who are an inspiring cult leader in this book. Because like, I feel like that's a number one like red flag is like when someone like claims to know better, like what is best for you, or like what your own feelings, like, it's like God told like, I don't know, it's Alice. Anyway,
God told me that you wanted a vintage wedding dress, Bella, so we have to do.
Right.
Brigham Young came down from the sky and told me, Joseph Smith himself gave me this wedding dress. You have to wear it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so now Bella and Edward are leaving a scent trap for the newborn. So basically she's like walking around, like running her hands along things. She takes out some pieces of hair and like drapes them along trees to like leave a scent trap. And Edward's like walking like 100 feet away so that like his scent isn't mixed in with it.
Yeah. And so Bella like cuts her hand at one point to like leave blood, to like, be extra dramatic. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so
Not
sorry,
on purpose.
Edward."
She falls and then she's like,
she starts like wiping
oh.
it. Yeah. But she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Edward. Like, hold your breath." And Edward's like, "Oh, I got over it. Like, I could never hurt you." And I realized that's yet another thing we don't find out. Like, it's not fully established until Eclipse. That I feel like it's very relevant to the whole sex thing. Like, Edward's like, "I'm completely over. Like, I have no desire to like slurp you up like a Capri Sun ever again." Like, it's like ever since like New Moon. And it's so weird that that's and like we didn't find that out before.
But I don't know. I feel like I mean, we didn't get it explicitly the way that we get it now, but I do feel like at the end of New Moon, we do get something where like Edward's like hungry. Like he has like dark eyes and dark circles. And she's like, "Oh no, it must be like painful for you to be around me. Like we shouldn't be this close." And he's like, no, like I'm over that. He doesn't say it as explicitly, but like we definitely get some hint of that in New Moon.
This is also around the time that Edward starts being obsessed with the word compromise. They just love saying like, "There's always a compromise. Look, there's a." I guess it started earlier, but like I don't know.
But honestly, like I'm judging him for it, but also like I don't know. I feel like it's a more healthy approach to relationships.
For sure.
Edward, you are learning and Edward, did you go to therapy every time that Bella was at La Push? Is that why you agree? Because like you were going to secret therapy. Yeah. I wonder if there's like one vampire therapist who just like got accredited.
There should be.
Like, I don't know, saw Freud and was like, "Fuck that," and just like wasn't getting vampire therapy.
Oh my god.
The Volturi tried to recruit her and she was like, "I'm independent." Like,
my fee is
my
too
own
high
practice. My fee is too high for you to keep me on retainer. Nobody can keep him on staff. And they're at this point they're talking about how they're gonna camp nearby, right? So we mentioned that. But they're like, we're camping somewhere 9 miles away from the battle scene, so they know where like the battle is going to take place. And I just like, surely 9 miles away is not far enough for a vampire. Like that just seems absurdly close.
Yeah, it does. Like
no wonder they get found. No wonder they get found. They're literally like in the yard over.
Right. Like the smell. Well, I don't know. Edward's thoughts definitely, like Edward's like mind reading doesn't go that far. That's for sure. You know.
I'm not saying that they can like on the battlefield they can obviously smell Bella 9 miles away. I'm just saying it's absurdly easy. It seems like it would be absurdly easy to find them.
Right. And it is absurdly easy. Like how far is the reservation, the La Push reservation from Forks? Do you remember? It's like 15 minutes.
I think it was like a 15-20 minute drive. Yeah.
It might be like around the same distance. They can't smell the wolves, so like I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. It doesn't add up. Anyway. But you can't really
You can't question it. Anyway, Jacob arrives to ruin the mood.
Jacob's there to like, what's Jacob there to do?
So they have to go to he's there to carry her to the campsite because Edward can't do it because then like if his scent is with her, like they'll know that'll defeat the purpose of the trap and they'll be able to like follow his scent to her. But like Jacob's scent is so disgusting that like it disguises Bella's scent. So he has to carry her. But the whole time he's fucking carrying her, he keeps bringing up the kiss and like how much he's like you liked it, like you like me, you're in love with me too. And Bella is so uncomfortable and it's like even worse because she literally cannot leave this situation. Like she's in the middle of the woods with Jacob being held by him and he's already proven he's willing to force himself on her. Like he's literally like, keeps like putting his face close to her and being like, "Yeah, you definitely want to kiss me again." And I just like
he's like, does that mean and then we get like the worst, like, oh my god, he's like, does that mean that Edward's a better kisser than me? And Bella's like, I couldn't really say, Jake, Edward's the only person I've ever kissed. And Jacob's like, you kissed me. And Bella's like, I don't really think of that as a kiss, I think of it more as an assault. And I'm like, yeah, it literally is assault, Bella. I mean, Stephenie and Bella. Like, why? I don't understand.
Like, you're saying this is like a sarcastic jab, but like, no, that's what it is.
I'm like, that's harsh. I shrugged. I wasn't going to take it back. And I'm like, so like, or do you think it's a joke? Like, I'm just really confused here because like Bella at least sticks to her guns, but like, if it's assault, it's assault. which is a crime and a tort.
This is really the only time that she sticks to her guns, though.
Right.
Every other time she tries to call Jacob out for it, she eventually like feels
Ends up
bad for making
apologizing to
him feel
him.
bad. But like this is the one time where she's like, no, that was assault. Like I'm not going to apologize.
And then Jacob's like, I did apologize about that. And Bella's like, I forgave you mostly, but it doesn't change the way I remember it. And I was like, good. Like, at least you're finally like not getting
speaking some
gaslit.
sense for like this brief 5-minute scene, and it will never come back again. She immediately forgets that she had this attitude. Yeah. Jacob also tells her, she found out from like Edward or something that Jacob's like second in command, so like the pack has to follow his orders too or whatever. So then, and this is when we find out, she asks him about it, and we find out that Jacob was supposed to be the chief because like his great grandpappy, hereditarily, because you know that's how indigenous like structures definitely work. He was like, yeah, I was supposed to be the chief, and like Sam offered it to me, but I didn't want it. So like Sam is technically the chief because like he's the leader of the werewolf pack. And I was just like, so they were gonna let a 16-year-old boy become the chief of, like, it's bad enough that they let like this 21-year-old man become chief. Right. They were gonna let this child be chief of their whole tribe,
right? Because like they can't really control the werewolf thing, I guess. Like, you know, because later on in Breaking Dawn, like Jacob has the power to break free or whatever. But like, there's no like there's no werewolf magic to be like the tribe. Also, if you're not even going to tell everyone in the tribe that this is happening, like how dare you decide that that's their leader? Like what?
I guess they don't really tell the rest of the tribe that like the werewolf guy is their chief, because Jacob is like, yeah, the last like technical chief was like my great grandfather, like the last person that was like the whole tribe acknowledged him as chief, whereas Jacob is like, Sam is like more just like only for people in the know.
Sure, but like if he's the one actually calling the shots, like that seems kind of fucked. I don't know. It's also fucked. So then Jacob naturally starts like trying to basically threaten Bella again, and like literally like Bella's like, don't get any ideas. The panicky edge to my voice made him smile wider. So Jacob like literally, canonically, Jacob gets off on Bella being afraid.
Yeah,
like
no, he loves making her uncomfortable. He's such a fucking creep. He's like a fucking incel. He's like that boy who's like, I'm such a nice guy, why don't girls like me?
He's a fucking what's it called? He's a sadist? Like what's the word for someone who like gets off on literally
sadist.
Other people being afraid?
Yeah, he's a sadist.
Other people's fear. And then they're like, they get to the campsite, and Jacob's like, gotta get you inside, this is gonna be bad, like there's a storm a brewing. He says, my hair's standing up on my head, which if you remember back to New Moon, Allison always knew, I learned that means you're literally about to get struck by lightning. Like I was like, what does Stephenie think that her hair standing on end just means like a big storm? Like what does she think it means? She keeps using this to mean like the weather's just like, the weather's being spicy. Like
this is like
literally about to get
Stephenie, like she's about to get hit.
Jacob is. That would have been nice.
They keep talking. Alice also mentioned, Edward mentioned, and Jacob mentioned, they're like, the storm is going to be really bad. Like, it's going to be really cold. Like, make sure you bring, like, supplies. Make sure you bring all the stuff. And still, flash forward to that night. They're in the tent, and Bella is fucking freezing to death. And I was like, listen, like, you knew how bad. Alice literally told you how bad it was going to be on the mountain. You knew this. They make outdoor gear that is built for, like, being outside in the fucking Arctic. So like, don't tell me that you couldn't have actually brought stuff that made her not freeze to death. Like, why did you just not bring more supplies? What?
They literally could have built a house, I feel like given their skill set and like speed. Like what? You could have literally okay, well here's the thing. Alice's vision blacks out when the wolves are involved, like whatever, however sketchily that's gonna work. So maybe she could see how bad it was gonna be, but not like how cold it would be for Bella. But still, like you can tell the temperature.
Bella, like, I'm just saying, like, why didn't the fact that Edward didn't get like the warmest grade stuff, you know what I mean?
Antarctica, because, like that exists. You can go like
that's what I'm saying. Like you're telling me the Newtons don't have that level of gear when they're selling outdoor gear in the Pacific Northwest?
It doesn't even matter if the Newtons have it. He could literally run to fucking British Columbia and back with all this shit and carry it like a fucking like the mule in Hercules, in the Mating of Hercules. Hercules' dad's like cart like flops into the air. You know? Like piled high. I don't know.
Okay.
How the fuck could they not have prepared properly?
It's so like, it just seems like something that would be very easy to do.
Yeah.
I think this is maybe also just like Stephenie has never been camping, or she's never been camping in somewhere that's cold. So like she doesn't know. I don't know.
And as soon as you said that, it triggered something in my head that was like, she comes from an outdoorsy family, but I have no idea.
I don't know.
Anyway,
so Jacob has to come in and be her personal space heater because plot convenience. And Bella falls asleep. But before she falls asleep, she manages to kick off her boots while inside the sleeping bag. And I'm like, if you could kick off your hiking boots, because she's supposed to be wearing hiking boots, if you could kick off your boots, you clearly were not wearing the correct clothes. It's just like that description alone is like, you might as well have been wearing fucking flip-flops. Like you can't do that with hiking boots if they're on correctly.
Also, why inside the sleeping bag? Like,
well, because she was freezing cold. That was why she was like,
yeah, but so they're still inside the bag this whole time?
Yes. They zip, so Jacob zips them into the bag. Yeah. Anyway,
she does it in the first book too. She's like laying on her bed. She remember when she finds out Edward's a vampire.
She's always fucking wearing shoes on her bed. It's insane.
But it was hiking boots that time too when she kicks them off.
Yeah. So Bella, so clear. Yeah. Anyway, so Bella falls into sleep and then like wakes up to this like fugue state dream where like Edward and Jacob, we're basically, because we're in Bella's perspective, Stephenie can't tell us all this information, and like Edward and Jacob are never going to have this conversation in front of Bella. So like it's literally just like, hey, let's find out about Jacob and Edward's feelings in the only way I can know how. And you know what? It worked for me. I was like, this felt smooth. We know Bella has weird dreams. It's like established that she has like weird sleep things. Basically, Edward and Jacob are like hashing it out. Oh, I think before she falls asleep, also she's like, Jake, why are you growing your hair out? Like, why are you so much shaggier than all the other wolves? And Edward like snorts, and Bella's like, what? And Edward's like, he's growing it out because like he thinks that you liked him better when he had long hair.
He also liked it. And also, like, why the fuck would fur length be based on just head hair length? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why not pube length? Like, completely. It's just so stupid. I mean,
if you shaved your legs, would like your legs be bare? But,
right. Like what's the correlation here? Like,
I mean, just the fact that Stephenie had them cut their hair in the first place.
It's so stupid.
So like, just like, especially because like hair is like so important to many indigenous cultures. Speaking of which, make sure that you donate to the Quilly Move to Higher Ground Fund, which is linked in the show notes below. Do it right now. Pause the video. Pause this podcast. I'll wait. Welcome back. How was that donation? Was it a smooth process? It was pretty smooth for me. Make sure you donate.
What I will say is that at least, so Leah gets a pixie cut, I'm assuming, or like she also has to cut her hair short stupidly. And at least Bella, she doesn't get roasted by the narration the same way that Lauren Mallory does in that outtake.
She doesn't get a pixie cut though. She gets it like cut to her like chin.
Oh, so then shouldn't she be the shaggiest?
Yes, but
because there's no way
you're thinking too much about this.
There's no way Jacob's hair grew that quickly. Like it's only
maybe
been
it does. Maybe wolf hair grows really quickly because it's part of the healing thing. I don't know.
Yeah, healing because they're trying to get back. Yeah, it's so stupid.
Yeah, they're trying to heal their cultural heritage. Anyway, yeah. So they basically have this conversation in which Edward is like, "If she chose you, I would step away," and Jacob is like, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, if we weren't enemies, Edward is like, "I might like you if like you weren't trying to steal Bella," and Jacob is like, "No, I would never like you. No, even if you weren't with Bella, I would still think you were a dick." We also, oh my god, during this scene, so Edward can read people's minds, right? And at one point, Jacob is like having some sort of thoughts where Edward is like, "Oh, can you like please like keep your fantasies to yourself?" And he specifically uses the word fantasies. So I'm like, Jacob is absolutely in this sleeping bag for Bella, in which she's only consenting to so that she doesn't freeze to death, having like sexual fantasies about her.
Oh, for sure.
He definitely has a fucking boner. I was like, you pervert.
Okay. What I will say though, in Jacob's defense, is that Edward has a history of shaming people for quote unquote like dirty fantasies For example, Jessica Stanley, like the original reason that Edward hates her is because she has like indecent thoughts about him. And it turns out those indecent thoughts are like him hugging her or like kissing her on the cheek. So like for all we know, Jacob is fantasizing about like holding Bella's hand and Edward's like, get that away from me. Like, I don't know. So basically they're like having like Jacob's like, why didn't you just like leave Bella alone? Like, and Edward's like, well, I left for her own good. Like I only had like 3 choices. Like, and I could either like leave her, I could live with her until she was human, or I could like whatever, like turn her into a vampire. And Jacob's like, I wish you just like left. Like I had a game plan this whole time of like how I was gonna get Bella to date me when we were. It's like, right, you were never her friend.
And yeah, Jacob is like, can't you consider that I would be better for Bella? And Edward is like, yeah, in a lot of ways you would be, but also I learned my fucking lesson, my dude. Right. And that lesson is that Bella's opinion matters here too.
Right. And Jacob literally doesn't care. He's like
Jacob never learns that lesson. No. Jacob never learns a lesson that Bella's opinion is like just as important. No. Never.
No. He's like, she would have been happy enough with me. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum. And honestly, like it was at this point that I was like, listen, once again, I don't want anyone to be suffering under any delusions. I think both Edward and Jacob suck in their own very special ways. But I think this conversation proves that Edward is the better man because he would walk away. Like I'm willing to believe. I think no. Here's what I think would happen. He would let her go if she didn't want him. He would like watch her from the trees, but she wouldn't know he was there. You know what I mean? So like for all intents and purposes, from Bella's perspective, he would let her go. Yeah. So, and I'm like, yeah, because he's willing to prioritize Bella's feelings, like ultimately.
He does say, if she chose you, I'd let her go, but I'd always be waiting in the wings, hoping for Jacob imprinting to happen, because he's like, you might not have it. It's like so fucked. But
do we think Renaissance, like, I mean, clearly Renaissance is like only in Bella, right? Renesmee.
What do you mean only in Bella?
Because Jacob never has weird attractive feelings to Edward, so it's not in Edward's sperm that Renaissance is dwelling. It's just in Bella's eggs.
Make any sense?
In the bit, I'm just telling you how this works. Jacob has such a powerful connection to Bella because
who said, like, I don't.
She's the future mother. They say that. They have that conversation when Bella's pregnant. They're like, remember how like I needed to be around you all the time? It was because of her.
Oh, that's when she's cooking.
I'm just saying, but they were like throughout the whole time, like, this is what it was meant to. So I'm just saying, like, what if? Stay with me here. Jacob and Bella get married. They have a kid.
No.
You say no because you don't want it to happen, but I think it's possible.
No, I don't think that would happen. I don't think even. No. The whole thing is so. Just because they say it doesn't mean they're right. You know, like Edward thought that the werewolves weren't related to the vampire. Like, you know.
Yeah, but when Bella guesses something, she's always right. When Edward guesses something, he's wrong 99% of the time. When Bella guesses something, she's always right.
There's no way, because the whole imprinting thing is also supposed to be so you have like stronger babies, and that just,
I mean, is it
not? Yes.
Because he can't have babies with Renaissance.
We don't know that. She definitely. Are you kidding me, Allison? You really think if she's threatening to write a Jacob and Renaissance story, you really think Rodin isn't going to get pregnant in that? You're really going to look at me and tell me that?
All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves. These are breaking down discussions. These are breaking down discussions.
But no, I don't think because that's
all
just
right. All right. Anyway, these are breaking down discussions. We can continue this exciting discussion.
I don't even want to
stay tuned.
I don't even like that. Just makes me want to throw up. It's already bad, Allison. I don't need to be like throwing up the grapes I just ate. Like, can we not?
Okay. Anyway, so the next morning, there's a little tussle with getting Jacob out of the sleeping bag, whatever. More dick measuring.
Wait. I just don't understand why they had to camp at all. Sorry. I know
so they can be near the clearing.
Why couldn't they just, it takes them a fraction of a second to run 9 miles.
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe Alice doesn't get exact timing. So like it could happen at any point on that day.
She knows if it's light or dark. Whatever.
whatever.
It's time for
Anyway,
the tussle. Yeah.
It's time for the tussle. Jacob dips, but he was like, wow, that was like such a great night. Haha. You know, he can't resist getting one last jab at Edward.
Mm-hmm.
And Edward, like, as Jacob is leaving, Edward is like, just know that even if I had been able to snuggle with Bella last night, it wouldn't have made the top 10 best nights of my existence. So think about that.
It's in your top 10.
But and I was like, Edward, who knew you had that in you? Because like that's an openly sexual jab to make. So like, wow.
Yep.
You're growing.
Oh God.
And then I mean, Edward is a little bitch. He talks about how they got engaged, and Jacob, you know, is a nosy bitch and overhears, and he gets sad.
And can I just say that I've like changed my tune on this so many times. I know, like, I feel like a new moon. I was like, Bella, like, she needs to like stop selfishly like trying to keep Jacob around, like blah blah blah. But like, that's just because again, like, I just black out the entire plot of New Moon. Like, or sorry,
no,
about
Eclipse.
It's 100% Jacob. Like, this is not. I was like briefly blaming Bella, but he's like scheming. He's been scheming this whole time, like with or without
he's manipulating her. Their whole relationship has been manipulation. Yeah. And she has this thought. She's like, oh, like, I'm so greedy for wanting Jacob to be my friend, like, while I'm dating Edward. And I'm like, no, because he never wanted to be your friend. I was like, he is at fault here because the entire basis of your friendship is a lie because he only ever wanted to get in your pants.
Yep.
Like, you made your boundaries clear from the beginning, and he decided to not care about them because they didn't align with what he wanted. That is on him. That's on Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's time for Sexual Assault Time Part 2. Trigger warning. I'll put where you should fast forward to in the thing below. Jacob comes back.
Jacob comes back. And he's like, he just smarmy ass. He's like, I'm not gonna let Bella's like starts, you know, trying to like apologize. And Jacob's like, you know, I behaved pretty badly too. I could have just given up with good grace in the beginning. I won't let you claim all the blame or all the glory. I know how to redeem myself. It won't be that difficult to take myself out of the picture. This man literally threatens to kill himself if Bella leaves him.
Yes.
And then Bella's like, no, don't fucking do that. And he's like, how will you stop me? To manipulate her to kiss him again. Kiss in air quotes.
And it called out in the text because later on when Edward comes up, he was like, Bella, like, you're the only one. Like, he was like, he was manipulating you. Like, I
knew he would take advantage of the
openly
situation.
Manipulating. He was taking advantage of you, like, because he knew that you would fall for it.
Oh my God. And so like,
oh my God. And once again, Bella isn't like kissing. She's like, kiss me. Because remember we told you to remember that Jacob was like, oh, I can kiss her if she asks me to, and Edward is not allowed to punch me in the face. So he kisses her, and she's like, I'm just gonna let this happen. Like, I'm not reacting. And he once again gets angry. And he's so angry with her that she can feel the anger in his kiss as he's like roughing her, like physically roughing her.
Before that, Bella's like, fine, kiss me. And then she's like, I knew he would take advantage of the situation. I expected it. I stood very still with my eyes closed, my hands curled into fists at my side. As his hands caught my face and his lips caught mine with an eagerness that wasn't far from violence. Like, yeah, no, she's literally like into lockdown once again. And Jacob is into it.
It's so fucking stupid. And Stephenie has the audacity to be like, well, Bella was already like in love with Jacob. Like, she just had to realize it. Like, this is what
it takes.
This is what it takes for her to realize. Because like, she does eventually, you know, she gives in and starts kissing him back. And she like has this vision of their future of like 2 little black-haired children running. And I was like, I'm going to throw up.
Well, here's the thing. Bella changes her mind. Like, she tries to like yank his head back by his hair to like get him off of her. And then she's like, oh, he misunderstood and thought I was into the kiss and like made him like go into it even more. I'm like, that's not. And then like later, I forget
he
what.
Didn't
like,
misunderstand.
Right. If Edward can understand, if Edward's like a literal piece, like a literal boulder, and he can still like tell when you're trying to like get him off you. Jacob can tell. Like,
no. And again, he's turned on by your distress. Yeah. So Fucking hell. Anyway, they finish kissing. And Jacob's like, that should have been our first kiss. I just want you to know, like, I felt physical pain listening to this scene. And I feel like physically, like, I'm starting to feel like physically ill just thinking about how horrible this is. And this is one of the things where I recognized how horrible, like, I didn't like fully recognize it as like sexual assault. But like when I first read this at the tender age of 12, I was like, this is fucked up. I was like, I can't articulate what's fucked up about this scene, but I know something ain't right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jacob is like, okay, I'm going to go fight. Bye.
Mm-hmm. And Edward comes back and he's like, don't worry. He would have kissed you anyway, even if you hadn't fallen for it. And I'm like, what?
May Jacob burn in hell. May he burn in hell.
Like, what? You're saying, like, God, and you know, instead of Jacob burning in hell, Bella is like, I'm gonna burn in hell. Like, I deserve to lose them both. I'm like such a bad person.
Yeah, she like sobs. She's like so upset, and then she like starts feeling even more upset because she's like, Edward has to see me like this. Bella has been so emotionally like twisted up by these two people.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like she is so much a victim in this scene, and I will at least say, at least Edward is like not upset about it.
Yeah, Edward's like, I can't blame either of you. Okay, well, you should blame Jacob, but not Bella, for something I made necessary. I may get forgiveness, but it doesn't let me escape the consequences. And I was like, you know what? I feel like that's another catchphrase you learned in therapy, Edward.
Yeah,
you get
like,
forgiveness,
well
but there's no consequences. Yeah.
I mean, like, listen, he shortly forgets about all the lessons he learned in therapy once we get to Breaking Dawn.
Yeah.
But in Eclipse, Edward really has some growth.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and he's
props
like,
to him.
wait. He's like, I'm not going to make you choose. You can have whatever part of me you want or none at all. So I was like, you know what? Reverse harem? Like, did we another like just
menage a trois
kink teaser? My God.
I don't love the trope reverse harem. I know that's
whatever.
what
it's not what the trope is called.
No,
I don't
that's
know.
what it's called, but it is like I have
then.
been. But it's like, but is it polyamory when, because reverse harem, the trope is like, it's not they're all in a relationship with each other.
No.
It's multiple men fucking one girl. The men aren't fucking each other, which I feel like is what polyamory is.
No, it doesn't have to be. It's just you have multiple partners.
Yeah.
I think it can be like any level of like relationship, from like not talking
like
to them to friendship
to
to actual.
Okay. All right. I just don't like the term reverse.
I don't know. I've never really.
I know that's what it's called. That's what everybody's called, and I've yet to see someone suggest like an alternative term that like specifically refers to that aspect of polyamory. But
FMM, MMF, we can call it that.
No swords crossing.
No swords crossing. Thanks for the sword earrings, by the way. Anyway, I recently got some free sword earrings.
Yeah,
I
ordered these necklaces from this website, and this website does like various like women, like badass women that have like goddesses like necklaces and like rings and shit. And so they were like, I guess they had a new Joan of Arc collection, and so they like were giving, if you spent like a certain amount of money, people were like, you got like these free like diamond earrings that are in the shape of swords. And like you couldn't refuse them, you know what I mean? There was no option for me to remove that from the order. Like I was getting the earrings whether I liked it or not. And I would just like to say, I don't have my ears pierced, or like I did, but like my ears are closed up, like I can't wear earrings. So I was like, what if I didn't have someone to give these to?
It's rude that they're never gonna cross. I guess I do have 2 holes actually in each ear, so I could like put them in each hole and like somehow like
have a little X. Have a little X. Swords cross. Swords cross.
Yeah. So now it's time for Edward to live stream the fight for Bella by Seth.
I was honestly like, props to Stephenie for getting out of writing every fight scene ever, for like never having to write a fight scene.
I love it. Well done. Genius. It really was well done. Like you know, and I thought the thing is like fight scenes are so boring, like no matter what. So it's like I didn't miss it. I don't know.
Oh, Seth is. Did we mention that Seth is here? We didn't.
So baby
Seth is here. Seth is there in order to be like Edward's connection to the pack,
the conduit,
so,
the
like,
live stream conduit.
Yeah, basically the satellite, if you will, the satellite on top of the house,
because he can see what the wolves are seeing, and then Edward can see what he's seeing, and then Edward can say it out loud for us, the viewer, and Bella.
Yes,
and then like he's basically like, oh, like punch left, dodge right, da da da, and then he's like, oh fuck, like we gotta go because shocker of shockers, Victoria somehow found them. Like, it's literally so easy. Like, literally no point of this freezing camping ordeal, like multiple assaults by
It was
Jacob.
such a convoluted, silly
for
plan.
no reason.
But yeah, Victoria shows up in the movies. She's played by Bryce Dallas Howard, who does a phenomenal performance. I am mad that what's her name? Original Victoria.
They replaced her, yeah.
They replaced her because she was pregnant, and I was like, "Fuck that."
Are you sure that's why?
Yes.
Is that why? Because I definitely read something recently.
Oh, she's Rochelle Lefebvre or whatever.
Are you sure it was because she was pregnant? I thought it was just like she did. I thought she said she didn't know why they were like. It's like they.
I don't know. I thought it was, but it's funny because those two actresses are like very frequently like on the like celebrity doppelgangers list.
Oh, for sure. I didn't realize that she was replaced.
I didn't realize it for a long time that it wasn't the same person. Yeah. Anyway, Victoria shows up and she has a sidekick named Riley, who is basically her like Jasper equivalent in like this newborn army structure. Like she's Maria and he's Jasper.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has the hots for her. And basically, you know, she's told him and like the other newborns some like nonsense about like this coven wants to kill us. We have to kill them first or whatever. And Edward is like, Riley, she's lying to you. She was in love with someone named James. Like, don't listen. You don't have to fight. You're going to die. And then, you know, obviously Riley has a brief moment of hesitation, but then horny Riley rears his ugly head and he's like, no, time to fight. So Riley and Seth start fighting. Edward and Victoria starts fighting. Basically, it's a fight scene.
It was lion versus lioness.
Seth feigns getting hurt, and Bella's like, oh no, like Edward's about to lose and Seth's about to lose. Time to third wife myself. Except she doesn't stab herself in the heart, thank God. She just like scrapes her arm with a rock. It's totally unnecessarily because so then Seth like pops up, destroys Riley. Edward gets rid of Victoria because they're both distracted by the blood. And then Edward afterward is like, Bella, they tear apart Victoria and Riley, like build their little bonfire to like burn them. And Bella's just standing there. And then Edward turns around and he's like, Bella, can you please drop the rock?
I won't hurt you.
He's like, just put the rock down slowly.
Nobody gets hurt.
Because she's standing there. Because she's also canonically holding the rock in her fucking broken hand.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I've probably re-broken it.
Oh my God. So Edward thinks she's like scared of him because she saw him rip Victoria's head off. But really, she's like planning her suicide, her like self-sacrificing bullshit once again.
Which sucks because you know what? If we didn't have that self-sacrificing, we didn't have that like guilty conscious Bella nonsense here, I feel like Bella definitely would have been turned on. Missed opportunity.
What?
I feel like Bella definitely would have been turned on by Edward killing Victoria.
Oh, yeah. Bella
like of seeing him fight because she's always wanted to see him like fight.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, hunting. Well, it's not really the same, but yeah. I skipped over this. So Edward like obviously tries to play like some mind games with Victoria before ripping her head off. And he's basically like, yeah, James like never loved you. Like you were never more than a convenience to him because like you were good at escaping and his little like games. And it just made me think like, first of all, is that true or is that just mind games? Like, do one-sided vampire mates exist? You know, because obviously James is Victoria's actual mate. So is it possible that she wasn't actually his mate?
Yes.
But
because the way that it works is it's not like the imprinting thing. It's like the vampire mate thing. The way it works is like vampires change so infrequently that when they do change, it's like permanent. So like when they do fall in love with someone, it's permanent.
Right, but is it possible that it's not mutual?
Yes, because I don't know, because Edward thinks that he's not gonna. Oh, because of Irina and Laurent. Well, Irina clearly thought Laurent was her mate, but Laurent like stabbed her in the fucking back to go help Victoria and eat people. He left to eat. He left to eat people.
But he didn't stab her in the back. I think he did. I think he did actually love Victoria. Irina. I think he just like didn't realize. I don't know. That's a good point. I think he just like didn't think it would be that big of a deal.
Abandoned their way of life or whatever.
Yeah, but I think he was planning to go back. I think into his mind, I feel like it was more like they're all on a diet together and he's like having secret McDonald's than like an actual like betrayal, you know? I don't know. I think Irina and Laurent were actually like a thing. But yeah, anyway. Also, earlier, like still in the standoff part, there's a line where it's like Bella meets Victoria's gaze and, quote, "I thought I heard a familiar exasperated sigh." What does that mean?
Edward?
Why?
Because he's like, Bella, why are you why are you involving yourself? Like, why are you challenging her?
Just looking at her. I don't know. Okay.
He's like, Bella, can you just like stop, please? Stop trying to insert yourself
into the narrative.
Yeah.
Man, the narrative.
I would very much like to be excluded from this narrative, which I never asked to be a part of. Yeah, anyway. Now the satellite TV gets turned back on. And Jacob has done a dumb self-sacrifice because Leah like tried to go off a straggler newborn, but like almost got killed, and like Jacob saved her and like got the whole right side of his body crushed, which karma is a bitch, Jacob. Karma's a bitch.
Yeah, and somehow it's supposed to be fucking Leah's fault. Like, again, they try to pin it on Leah. They're like, oh, stupid Leah tried to take on like a vampire on her own to try to prove something, like stupid Leah. And I'm like, okay, well, Seth was able to handle like the more experienced Riley, who's like who's a more than a year old, more experienced. So what, Leah can't take on one by herself? Like what?
No, it's so fucking stupid.
I guarantee it was like Leah was doing totally fine, and then Jacob like inserted himself.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, because it's a dumb self-sacrifice of it's a dumb Jacob self-sacrifice. Like he's being his normal, unpleasantly angsty self.
Yeah, he was probably trying to do it, and then he was like, who would I least care about getting killed with me? Oh, Leah.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, so then the Volturi are about to show up. So the wolves got a dip. They like take Jacob away on a stretcher. The Volturi show up. Bella and Edward go down to the clearing so that they're not like separated. And it turns out that there's this one newborn vampire named Bree Tanner, of which there is like a short story, like novella about her for some reason that like, you know, surrendered. So like the Cullens are letting her live. And once again, she is one of the characters where it like I was like, oh yeah, I could have a shot of like being cast as Bree Tanner, you know, like it was Rosalie, that was a long shot. Then I was like, maybe Bree Tanner, and then I was like, the Denali Coven was next. I was like, I'm blonde, I could be one of them. Like, no dice. But yeah, I just Bree Tanner is she's one of there. She's like very sad because she can't eat Bella, and then the Volturi show up and they're like, no, we're gonna kill her because
broke the rules. Boo-hoo.
XOXO.
And Edward's like rightfully suspicious. He's like, oh, they showed up at such a convenient time. Like they definitely wouldn't have been sad if we got a few of ours like eaten.
Yeah, like that was definitely the intention.
And Jane's like shocked that like that they were able to take on like however many, like 20 of the.
Yeah. Well, Jane asked, she's like, well, what about the leader? Like you said, like someone created this pack of newborns. And Edward is like, I like dispatched her myself. And he's like, look over there, like to point to the smoke from the bonfire. And like Jane looks to see the smoke from like the Victoria and Riley like blazing. And I was like, Edward, did you just leave an open fire in the middle of the fucking forest?
That's a great point.
In the Pacific Northwest? Like, are you kidding? Who is to say that like the wildfires on the West Coast of the past 2 years were not actually caused by irresponsible battling vampires?
Started the fire.
It's a fucking Cullens.
It's always burning since the world's been turning.
Oh my god! It's like during wildfire season. Are you kidding me? It's like the beginning. It's like summer. Like, are you? Whatever. God.
So the wolves are, I mean, the Volturi are fuck off, like whatever. Seems like a lot of trips for them to make because they're going to come back next year too, like in just a few months. Like it seems like a lot of like frittering back. Again, how do they travel? I guess the same way Alice did. Whatever.
They have a private plane.
They swim. And they should be able to swim like at least half the speed of light, frankly. But I don't know.
Anyway.
So Jacob's entire right half of his body is shattered and like some of the bones set wrong. So Carlisle had to like reset them.
Because they were
Which seems like a quickly. Big drawback of the whole healing thing, that it doesn't like automatically set them, like
reset your bones,
that they can heal wrong.
Yeah, I'm just saying when you get turned into a vampire, the vampire venom does reset all your bones.
Right.
So whatever.
Right. Like, why can't, I don't know.
Yeah. But before she goes to visit, so she sees Jake, she saw Jacob, he was like knocked out on morphine because like Carlisle had to like literally give him a fucking like elephant dose of morphine because like he kept like burning through it too quickly. And before she goes, like Charlie sees her because Charlie was like at La Push, so like he's just oblivious. And he says he's like, I don't know why, Bella, but I just have this like feeling that you're gonna disappear on me. Like, can you please like let me know when you're gonna leave? And I was like, ugh, Charlie, I've been really mad at you for 90% of this book, but like, goddamn, that got me right here.
Yeah.
Like that got me in the heart. I was like, oh, Charlie, she is gonna leave you.
But like,
she's planning it already.
Yeah. Like, it's gonna work out.
Well, her intention was to leave him forever until Jacob does a dickhead Jacob move.
Yeah.
I mean, that turns out for the better, but like once again, he does it because he doesn't consider Bella's feelings in the slightest. Anyway, Jacob's basically like, I have to let you go, blah, 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 blah. And then Jacob is basically like, he's better at playing the game than I am. And she's like, he's not playing a game. And Jacob is like, don't blame me because he's a better manipulator than I am. And I'm like, sir, why do you only want her to be with you? Like, why would you want her to be with you if she's only with you because you manipulated her into being with you? What?
Right. And he's like,
what is this brain logic?
Like, wait, like Edward wasn't even mad. Like he didn't even give you an ultimatum or anything. Like, damn. And then he tells, I don't know, I guess, are we going to assume everyone's familiar with the King Solomon story? The lowdown, it's a biblical story. Two women are like fighting over who's the mom of this baby. And they ask like, why is King Solomon to decide? And King Solomon's like, oh, well, we'll just cut the baby in half and you can each have half. And then like one of the women's like, okay. And the other one's like, no, just like give it to her. And like that proves that she's the real mother. And Jacob is like, oh, well, I'm just like the real mother in this story because I'm the one willing to like sacrifice the baby. And I'm like, okay, well, like,
no.
But
I was like, of course, Stephenie is throwing a little King Solomon sprinkle in,
like a little Old Testament. I appreciate that. Like,
she saw an opportunity and she took it. So like
a little like juice for the Awana kids in the know.
Yeah, and Jacob is basically just like he's like, I'm gonna let you go, whatever. And he's like, I'll be good. We'll be friends. And then he just immediately breaks that promise. Like by the epilogue, he breaks that promise. And he's basically like, clouds I can handle, but I can't fight with an eclipse.
Oh my God.
Bella's also like, I wonder when the right girl will catch your eye. And I'm like, oh honey, you got a big storm coming.
Well, do we think it would have been never if Renesmee hadn't been born?
I don't know.
I don't know. I've seen a few theories. I don't think that's how it works. I think it's like the best person that comes along, like eventually. I don't know.
Well, because it's like, because if we think about the original imprinting, the third wife, right, is like the object of his imprint. And he had two wives before that who he like cared about. So it took like 3 lifetimes or 2 full lifetimes for him to like find the third wife.
If we're going on the stupid egg theory, there's only one egg ever in existence. The odds of anyone ever finding their imprint would be beyond microscopic because each like woman on Earth has, what is it, hundreds if not thousands of eggs, and the vast majority of them get like spit out by your hoo-ha by the age of like 20 probably. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, none of them would ever have like.
No, I definitely think you can have more than one. Like,
it seems like you only get one. Like, once you get one, it's done. But like, there's many possible that could like lock and load it.
I think so. So anyway, Bella comes home. She's been sobbing. She like literally comes home looking like she's been like drowned in a fucking waterfall. And then Charlie just proceeded to get on my nerves again because Charlie has the audacity. Like, he doesn't ask, "Are you okay?" Oh my God, Bella, what the fuck? You look so upset. He's like, I hope you didn't mess up Jacob's recovery. Once again, prioritizing Jacob over his own child. Who's surprised?
God. Oh, also, Jacob and Bella like kind of joke about like, what if when she's a vampire? And Bella's like, oh, haha, like maybe the pack will have to take me out. And Jacob's like, I'd hamstring any of my brothers who tried. But like later on, like literally the beginning of the next book, when they're getting married, he's gonna freak out when Sam is like, actually, we're gonna allow Bella to be changed. We're not gonna murder her. Or like
No,
kill
but
like, go to
he's not
war.
pro murdering Bella. He's pro murdering the
To
Cullens
stop it.
for violating the treaty. That's what he's pissed about. So that's still in line with what he said.
But wouldn't that have to kill Bella too? I guess they wouldn't have violated it.
No, but yeah. Yeah, whatever.
Also,
okay, so
Bella's like crying and she's like, Edward, let me ruin his shirt, staining it with salt water. Does salt water stain? Like what?
I think it can discolor.
Okay.
Because I'm also thinking about like sweat. I think about like pit stains.
Yeah, I actually did have that exact thought process that I then just like, yeah.
It's glad we're on the same page, having a little mind melt there.
Yeah.
So they're hanging out, and Edward finally takes Bella's full feelings into account, and he's like, you know what, we don't have to get married. We can just fuck right now, and then I will turn you into a vampire. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, you have been too upset. And I was like, Edward character arc complete, only to be torn to shreds in the next book.
He literally says, my way is always wrong, so we'll do everything your way. And we get the great Wuthering Heights integration in here with the I cannot live without my life. I cannot live without my soul. My soul.
It's soul. I don't know why I always think it's love.
Yeah.
Anyway, but poor Bella has been too gaslit and too manipulated in order to allow herself to have what she actually wants. And so she's like, we're going to do the big wedding for Alice, for Charlie, for Renee, for all my friends so that they can say goodbye to me. And I want to hurl. Whatever. So they're going to have it, and then they go and tell Charlie. She's like, good thing you're bulletproof. Ha ha ha.
I was trying. So I also have like a strong feeling of like weddings being embarrassing. Like not for other people. Like I'm not, it's the same thing as like the pregnancy thing. It's not like I'm watching you and judging you and thinking it's embarrassing. It's like for me personally, there's something so mortifying about the idea of getting married, period. But also like mostly other people knowing. And I'm trying to figure out if that like predates Twilight or if that's something I somehow like internalized at a very young age from Twilight. Because it's one of the odd times that like Bella and I are completely in sync, you know? Like
well, I was the opposite. Because for a really long time, I wanted like the big wedding. Like I was always like, you know, I don't want to spend like a house mortgage on a wedding, but I was like, I want the wedding dress. I loved Say Yes to the Dress. And like, I loved it. Like, oh, like I legitimately like, this is what I want someday. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, having a wedding sounds miserable for many reasons. Like, not just the expense, but like having to be the center of attention for a whole day. It just sounds exhausting. It sounds like it would just be the worst thing for me.
Yeah.
So
not once. Again, until I found out that the place where the Blank Space music video is filmed is like up for grabs and is only 2 hours away. That's the one time that I was like, if it's someone rich enough, if it's somehow paid for by some
2 hours away?
Yeah. I wanted to go there for brunch. We should, but there was no, I forget. There was like,
they didn't have, it was
they didn't have any spots open. But we could probably try to find, they only had for like the rest of the summer, like weekdays, I think. So we could try to find like sometime now. We could look again.
Yeah.
I want to go. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't know where my like deep embarrassment. Anyway, it's the epilogue in Jacob's voice. Now we find out why they brought in the Jacob narrator in this book.
I forgot that epilogue was from his POV.
He's having a conversation with Leah, and Leah's basically like, listen, you need to stop wallowing.
I love this.
All hear your thoughts. I dreamed about kissing Bella Swan last night. What am I supposed to do with that? And I'm like, you know what you're supposed to do with that, Leah? Do I have news for you?
It's because you're gay. Like, I was like, Stephenie, I don't think you realized what you did by giving us that line.
And then Jacob's like, if you're upset about gender confusion, how do you think we feel about you thinking about Sam? And I'm like, all right, well, that's not whatever gender confusion. Like, no, that's not. I don't think that's not the right term, but also it's not what that is. No, he's basically saying like you're feeling like you're a man. I'm like, no, she's feeling like she's a lesbian. Like it's not. It's just like Stephenie can't even fathom the idea of like a woman being attracted to not a man. Yeah. Or like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Jacob's like, it's bad enough Emily has to deal with your fixation. And I'm like, doesn't like what
Whatever. Justice
So
for Leah. I mean,
rude.
we've done this ad
know.
nauseum. Jacob immediately gets his
I just
karma because he
can't.
receives a wedding invitation from Edward. Edward is doing this in good faith. He's like, listen, Bella didn't want to hurt your feelings, but like, I would want to be invited if the shoe were on the other foot. So like, I'm sending you this, like, whatever. But
Billy, sorry, I'm still not done with the Leah nonsense. Billy is the one who gives Jacob the invitation. And then he goes on this monologue where he's like, Sue Clearwater, Leah and Seth's mom, is an amazing woman. I don't know how she deals with that daughter of hers. Now, Sue would have made an amazing wolf. Leah, she's more of a Wolverine. I'm like, why the fuck are we like roasting this poor traumatized 18-year-old girl, Billy Black? Like, what the fuck? What has she ever done to you? And Billy doesn't even have the firsthand, like, whatever the fuck Leah is supposed to have been doing to hurt the tribe. Like, he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
But even in Breaking Dawn, when we get Jacob's POV for a good chunk of the book, and we get him interacting with Leah for like from his POV for a good chunk of the book, I'm still like, I don't really know exactly what Leah's doing that's like worse than what all the other fucking werewolves are doing. Like, certainly not worse than Paul, and nobody dunks on Paul all the time.
I mean, yeah, I guess like she's supposed to be like thinking mean thought. I don't know, but I think what I've learned from this, like especially this particular episode, is that anytime someone in Twilight is purporting to report someone else's thoughts, like it can't be trusted. Because we get like Edward being like Jessica's a harlot. We get like Jacob being like, oh, Leah's the worst. Like she's so evil and malicious. Edward says it too, and it's like, okay, for what? Like, what are you talking about? I don't know.
Evidence, like where's like what exactly are you basing this on? Is this just vibes? It's like when people on The Bachelor are like, yeah, she's not here for the right reasons, and then the Bachelor or Bachelorette is like, okay, like what has she said or done? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I just feel it.
And I saw some theory. I should do like a deep dive on this, but it's like the idea that like Edward can read thoughts, but like he can only read like the most surface level of like your thoughts. And so that would explain a lot of it. I don't think the wolves aren't like that though, because the wolves, like, I feel like know everything.
No, they can do emotions for like full, like.
Right. But Edward can see things too. So like, it's not just the like, I don't know.
And he also gets like, because Charlie, remember, he can't fully read Charlie's mind. Yeah. He only gets vibes from Charlie's, which Edward is so full of shit, because multiple times throughout this book, the way he like talks to Bella about like what Charlie's thinking is like very clearly like he's presenting as if he can see exactly what's Charlie's thinking, when like it's really just vibes.
Does he ever tell Bella about not being really able to?
No, not that I remember. Yeah. Anyway, so Jacob gets the wedding invitation and is an angsty little fuck and runs away as a wolf. And that's where we leave him. And that's where he's going to be. He's going to be on ice the whole summer, as he deserves. Fucker. Anyway, that's it. Eclipse. The most useless book. The most upsetting book. Maybe not.
It's functionally useful because we learn a lot of stuff, but there's no reason it had to be an eclipse. Like the only reason Eclipse exists, like the only plot relevant thing that has to happen is like them getting engaged, basically. What I will say, I haven't thought this through, it's just popped into my head, but like, so this is a fucking like love triangle, right? Which like is generally very annoying. But by making Jacob such a sexual assaulty villain, at the very least, we didn't get like Bella isn't actually falling for Jacob and Edward. If you know,
allegedly she is, according to Steph.
Allegedly, but it's not. That's not what the main conflict is. The main conflict is Bella being like, "Get the fuck away from me," and Jacob being like, "Stick your tongue in my mouth." It's not like, "Oh, who do I actually choose?" Like, there's never actually like, she's never actually like.
Well, I mean, according to the Jacob stands at like the height of the Twilight fandom, like people legitimately thought she could choose Jacob.
I never understood that.
I never understood.
Even at the time.
Well, here's the thing: is I do, not specifically in the context of Jacob, but let's extrapolate this out to the Hunger Games.
I know. I was thinking that.
Also had a love triangle, and how I was Team Gale for a long time.
Sure.
And Gale is the Jacob.
Yeah, but the difference with that is that we get sort of like long stretches where Gale fades to the background and Peeta comes to the forefront. We never really get that with Jacob, except in New Moon. And even then, the primary thing is like Bella's miserable because Edward's gone and she's hallucinating him. Whereas we get like the spotlight on Peeta, like you kind of like forget, like your mindset totally shifts. And like that never really happens in Twilight. It never really happened for me, at least, I'm sure. I guess it must have for the people who are like total Jacob gung-ho.
Yeah. I mean, you could see it with like, I guess, New Moon Jacob. But like once you get to Eclipse, I mean, but that's why like the Jacob stands are like Eclipse is just Jacob character assassination.
But even it is. But even in New Moon, Bella at most what she gets to is like, maybe in time I can tolerate this.
Yeah.
Like
right. Like yeah.
Like it's just friendship for me, but maybe I can like
yeah,
put
he
up
tries
with a
to
little
kiss her right before
fondling.
it falls.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not ready for this.
Right.
On that note, tune in for when we do Breaking Dawn. Woohoo.
Where objectively the true horror show comes out. That's not how I think of Breaking Dawn in my head, but the people who feel that way, I think I have very valid perspective.
Rachel, let's do the cat scale.
All right. So once again, this is a Twilight production. It's gonna be off the charts.
Actually, I don't think we gave New Moon that much. I think New Moon was only like a 6, but that's probably because
it was mostly Jacob. Yeah, we get the lion versus lioness. We get the purring from the non-feline. We get Bella, like, I don't know. I just feel like the grinding and cuddling feels cat-like. Just like, I don't know.
She's like a cat, like with her claws, like trying to, like, you know, when a cat doesn't want to get off you.
Yeah, like
and
hugging.
Edward is like trying to pull her off him, and she's like, no.
Yeah.
I feel like Rosalie's revenge arc is also very cat-like. It's definitely something a cat would do.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, 7. Hey, Rachel, where can they find us?
Well, Allison, they can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at We Read It One Night. You can find us on Twitter at We Read It Podcast, and you can email us, wereaditonenight@gmail.com. You can also check out our merch at
Redbubble. On
Redbubble. And don't forget to rate and review wherever you listen, if that is possible.
Yeah. And if you want to give a little flag that you're rating and reviewing during this episode,
shout out. You can list your favorite historical era of wedding rings.
What?
The least ugly.
Where would you most like
your
to go camping?
Gemstone. Okay, where that? Yeah.
Or gemstone, whichever.
Okay, wherever you like to go camping.
Favorite gemstone, or where would you most like to go camping?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. On that note, Godspeed, comrades.